I pulled into my parents' driveway on Christmas Eve, headlights cutting through the cold Salem fog, trunk packed full of gifts I'd wrapped myself. Not bags, not gift cards, actual wrapped boxes, bows and all. I'd left Eugene around too, figured I'd beat the storm. Halfway up I thought, maybe this year would be different. Maybe they'd finally say they were proud. The porch light was on. My mom opened the front door before I even got a chance to knock. "Hey, hun," she said, gave me one of those quick sideways hugs, and disappeared back into the kitchen. Just like that. No Merry Christmas, no how was the drive, not even a look at the trunk. Inside, the house smelled like ham and cloves. Same centerpiece from a decade ago sat on the table. I dropped the bags by the tree, walked into the kitchen. She had her back turned, stirring something in a pot like it was a race. "Need help with anything?" I asked. "No, I've got it. Blake will be here soon," she said, without turning around. "I'm 38 years old. Just got promoted to lead project manager at my construction firm. Biggest contract we've landed to date. But here, I'm still just the one who shows up early, brings tools, takes leftovers home in foil. Quick note, before we go further, share which city or country you're watching from." Blake rolled in about 30 minutes later, laughing before the door even closed behind him. Loud, cocky girlfriend, hanging off his arm like some Instagram trophy. He didn't even take his shoes off. Dad clapped him on the back like he'd just returned from war. "There's my boy," Dad said. "Future of this family." I stood in the hallway, barely got a nod. His girlfriend got more attention in 5 minutes than I had in 5 years. When it was time for gifts, we all circled the tree. Blake's was front and center, big, shiny, and obvious. He opened it to find a set of keys. "Wait, is this for real?" he asked. Dad grinned. "Brand new Chevy Silverado, son. You earned it?" Everyone clapped. Mom wiped a tear. Even Blake looked stunned, like he wasn't expecting them to go that big. Then it was my turn. I opened a tiny box with my name on it. Inside was a hammer-shaped bottle opener and a $10 gift card to Home Depot. Dad smirked. "Every builder needs a bottle opener," he said, like it was the punchline to some inside joke. I laughed once, tight and short. That night, after they all went to bed, I packed my bag, grabbed my jacket, and walked out the back door without a sound. Snow was falling. My phone buzzed as I started the engine. It was a text from Mom. "Don't forget to pay Blake's car insurance. It's due on the 3rd. I didn't cry on the drive back. Just clenched the wheel and kept my eyes forward, like I'd done my whole life. Blake was 9 years younger than me, and from the second he showed up, everything shifted. Suddenly, the world had a new center, and it sure as hell wasn't me. I was the kid who changed his own bike tires, figured out how to unclog the sink, and helped Mom cook when she got overwhelmed. Blake, he had allergies, or practice, or a game, or he was too young to worry about that right now. By the time I hit high school, I was working weekends at the hardware store. My paychecks went into a budgeting envelope Dad managed. Said it would teach me responsibility. I never saw a dime. Blake turned 15 and got a debit card linked to Dad's account. Mom used to say, "He's just not built like you. You're steady. He needs more help." No, I just figured out no one was coming to help me. I applied to Oregon State alone. No tours, no college visits. Printed the forms at the library. I drove myself to orientation in a rusted-out Civic I bought off my boss for $400. When Blake hit 18, he got full tuition, an off-campus apartment, and a brand new laptop, all wrapped in a bow. At my graduation, I scanned the bleachers and saw an empty row where my parents should have been. Later that night, I got a voicemail from Mom. Blake had a hangover so bad they'd taken him to urgent care. "He needed us," she said. I kept trying anyway. Called when I got promoted to foreman. Sent them photos of the apartment complex I led construction on. Nothing crazy, just trying to share my life. "Nice work," Mom would say. "Did you hear Blake's podcast just hit 1,000 followers?" Every damn time. It wasn't even a real podcast. Just him rambling about crypto and kombucha and whatever other trend he was chasing that week. Still, I showed up. Holidays, birthdays, random weekends. I'd fix the back fence, paint the baseboards, install their new thermostat, because Blake didn't have time. He'd roll in 2 hours late, empty-handed, and get treated like royalty. Every time. This Christmas, the truck, the applause, that half smirk when I unwrapped the bottle opener, That was it for me. It wasn't the dollar value. I could have bought myself 10 trucks. It was standing there, feeling like the damn hired help while Blake got crowned king. You ever spend your whole life proving your worth and still end up the afterthought? Every chore, every favor, every holiday I showed up early just to help. None of it mattered. They never even asked if I had plans for New Year's. Probably assumed I'd be paying Blake's bills. And you know what? That assumption was the most honest thing they ever gave me. So I kept driving, didn't head south, didn't go home. I just went east. Past the city limits, windshield wipers ticking, snow thickening across the 2-lane highway. No music, no destination. Just that dead silence after a gut punch, when you stop pretending you're okay. Somewhere past Mount Hood, I pulled into a diner glowing red and white neon, like it had been waiting for someone to crack. Place was empty except for a tired waitress wiping down a counter. She didn't ask questions, just poured me black coffee and slid a slice of cherry pie in front of me, like she knew. I sat there in that cracked vinyl booth, staring at the window fogging up from my breath. No Christmas music, no fake cheer, just quiet. I pulled out my phone and dialed Rick. Rick and I worked together years ago on a job in Bend, stayed in touch ever since. He ran a crew out in Boise now, had offered me a spot more than once. I always turned him down. "Still got that site manager role open?" I asked. He paused, then said, "Took you long enough. I booked a cheap motel off the interstate. $39 a night, no lock on the window, smelled like pine sol and regret. But I didn't care. I needed out, needed quiet, needed air that didn't reek of being second place. Didn't sleep much, maybe an hour. Mostly just lay there, remembering every time I'd told myself, maybe next year. Next year was done. At sunrise, I walked across the slushy parking lot, grabbed a coffee from the gas station next door, and went back to the room. Opened my laptop, filled out the transfer paperwork like my hands already knew what to do. Then I emailed Rick my resume. Straightforward. No fluff. 10 minutes later, he replied, "Welcome to the team. We start after New Year's." Around mid-morning, my phone buzzed. "Mom, call when you're done pouting." That was it. No, "Are you okay?" No, "Where are you?" Just more of the same. I stared at the message for a long second, then blocked her number, just like that. No hesitation. Didn't matter. She'd always find another way to reach me. Before I checked out of the motel, I walked back to the diner. The snow had coated the whole lot in white. I stood by my truck, took a photo of the empty lot, the warm glow behind the frosted windows, and posted it with one caption. First step. No fanfare, no explanation. Just something real, finally. I got in the truck, turned east again, and kept driving towards something that looked like freedom. Rick had a spare room above his garage. Nothing fancy, just a mattress on the floor and a busted dresser with one good drawer. But it felt better than home, ever did. The first morning, he handed me a thermos of coffee and took me straight to the site. Introduced me to the crew like I was already part of it. No tests, no snide remarks, just, "This is Adam. He's one of us now." I looked around the lot. Frozen ground, steel frames halfway up, guys laughing over shitty country music. And for the first time in a long damn while, I pictured a life where I wasn't the backup plan. That night, the texts started. First one said, "Is this Blake's brother?" Next, "You're making this harder than it needs to be." Then, "Blake needs your support. You've always been the strong one." Mom didn't even have the guts to text me directly. She used Blake's phone, then my aunt, then our old neighbor, Missy, who once asked if I was adopted, "Because you don't look like the rest of them." Every message was the same flavor, blame. Nobody asked where I was, or if I was safe, or if I needed anything. Just, "Come fix this. You're making us uncomfortable." Rick's wife, Jenna, caught me staring at my phone one night after dinner. "You look like you're swallowing glass," she said. I didn't answer. She took the plate from my hands and said, "You're not the broken one, Adam. You just stopped playing the game." That hit harder than any insult ever could. The next morning, I went to the drugstore and bought a cheap spiral notebook, sat in the truck outside the site, heat blasting, pen in hand, started writing. Every time I swallowed my pride, every time I let something go, every time they acted like Blake's chaos mattered more than my stability. 4 pages, front and back. My voicemail filled up the next day. "Blake, grow up. It's not about the gifts. It's just a truck. Mom, you're embarrassing us. Some unknown number. Family means putting up with things. I deleted every message without listening to the end. Instead, I applied for a one-bedroom rental a few blocks from the site. Clean place, nothing fancy. But it had a washer-dryer hookup and a decent view of the hills. Then I signed the contract for the job. No more waiting for someone else to hand me permission to move forward. I wasn't the man who stormed out. I was the man they didn't even try to follow. It was a Thursday morning, gray sky hanging low over the site, steel beams slick with frost. I was checking measurements when I spotted him, sitting on the tailgate of my truck like he owned it, hands jammed in his jacket pockets, staring at the mud under his boots. My stomach went tight. I wiped my hands on my jeans and walked over. "We need to talk," he said. "Okay," I answered. Nothing else, no hug, no handshake. Just nodded toward the street. "There's a diner down the block." We walked in silence. The place smelled like bacon and burned coffee. I slid into a booth, back to the wall. He sat across from me, leaning forward like we were about to negotiate a contract. He started right on cue. "We never meant to hurt you. Blake's just different." I didn't even blink. "Go on." "Blake had a rougher time emotionally. You were always more stable. We assumed you didn't need much." I let him talk. 10 minutes of excuses poured out while the waitress filled our mugs. All about Blake's feelings, Blake's struggles, Blake's endless get-out-of-jail-free cards. Not one word about mine. When he finally paused, I spoke. Calm, flat. "You assumed wrong." He frowned. "We did our best." "No. You gave me chores. You gave him support. You gave me silence. You gave him praise." His jaw tightened. "You're ungrateful. We put food on the table." I leaned forward, voice still low. "Yeah. And you never asked how I was doing." The waitress dropped off toast and slid away quick. My dad rubbed his face like he was tired of me already. "You're making this bigger than it is," he muttered. "The bottle opener," I said. He chuckled at first. I stared at him until he stopped. "Told me nothing's gonna change," I said. He shifted in his seat, eyes darting around the diner like someone might save him from this conversation. Nobody did. "What do you want from us?" he asked finally. "Nothing," I said. "Not anymore." His mouth opened like he wanted to argue, but nothing came out. He grabbed his coat, threw a 20 on the table for coffee he didn't drink, and stood up. "You're throwing family away?" he snapped. I stayed seated. "No, I'm walking out of a role I never signed up for." He turned and walked out, shoulders hunched, boots scraping the tile. The bell above the door jingled, and then it was just me, the empty mug, and the smell of burnt bacon. I sat there a minute, breathing slow. Then I stood, left a tip, and headed back to the site. The guys didn't ask questions when I walked up. They saw my face, handed me a nail gun, and cleared space for me on the scaffold. I climbed up, took my mark, and started driving nails into cold steel. Each hit echoed sharp and solid, a sound I could actually trust. February came in cold and quiet. Ice on the windshield every morning, sun low and pale. I didn't mind. The quiet worked for me. My apartment started to look like something real. Tools hung neatly on the wall in the bedroom, organized, labeled, clean, pegboard by the front door. No photos of family, no holiday cards taped to the fridge, just space that finally felt like mine. I started therapy. Rick's wife gave me the number. First session, the counselor asked, "What do you want from your family now?" I sat there, arms crossed, heart pounding louder than I expected. Then I said it, plain as ever. "I want them to understand I'm done begging." After that, the messages slowed. A few emails trickled in, short, cold, careful. From Mom. "We're worried. Your father hasn't been the same since Boise. Blake misses you." Not one said sorry. Not one said, "We see it now. We were wrong." Just a slow drip of guilt dressed up as concern. I blocked the addresses. In our next session, the counselor helped me write a statement, just in case I ever wanted to say something to them without getting pulled back into the spin. It started with, "This isn't punishment, it's protection." I kept it in my drawer, still haven't sent it. Instead, I bought a jar, mason type, sat it on the kitchen counter. Every Saturday, I dropped $1 in. not savings, not some petty protest. Just proof I was holding the line. Week by week, that jar started to mean more than anything they'd ever given me. I stopped waiting for a phone call that said, "We were unfair." Stopped checking social media to see if Blake had posted some vague, sad boy message trying to make himself the victim. Stopped explaining to people why I left. I didn't need a committee to approve my peace. I still showed up every day to the site, still put in the hours, still laughed with the crew at lunch and handed out extra gloves to the new guys. But when I came home, I sat in that quiet, clean space and breathed. By spring, there were 10 bills in the jar and no regrets, not one. By May, the jar had a nice little stack in it. I hadn't spoken a word to my parents in months. Then the wedding invite came. My cousin Derek, one of the few in the family I actually used to like. We grew up close before the lines got drawn. I sat with the envelope for 2 days before texting Rick. "You busy May 18th?" He replied with one word, bulletproof. We booked our own hotel, 15 minutes from the venue. I drove, wore a navy sport coat, clean jeans, boots polished. I wasn't trying to make a scene, just wasn't hiding anymore. The moment I walked through the front doors, heads turned. Whispers kicked up like smoke off a burn pile. A couple cousins nodded, polite but cautious. Aunt Linda dropped her glass trying not to stare. Rick stayed close, casual, like he'd done this 100 times. Because he had. It didn't take long. Mom found me at the bar, lips tight, voice low. "Adam, don't do this here." "Do what?" I said, grabbing my drink. "Exist?" Her eyes flashed like I'd slapped her, but she didn't say another word. 10 minutes later, Dad pulled me aside, past the coat check. His suit was too tight, tie crooked, face puffier than I remembered. "We're proud of you," he said. "We just didn't know how to show it." I stared at him. "You showed me, for 30 years, loud and clear." He opened his mouth, then shut it again. I left him standing there. Blake showed up halfway through the ceremony. Tan suit, sunglasses inside, some new girlfriend in a dress that screamed, "trying too hard." Same swagger, same smirk. He came over during cocktail hour like nothing had happened. "Look who finally decided to show up," he said, clapping me on the shoulder. I didn't flinch, didn't smile. He tried a second time. "Come on, man. Family's family, right?" I took a sip of my drink, stared straight at him. "Sure. And some of us finally got tired of pretending that meant something." He backed off quick. The girlfriend whispered something and pulled him away. Rick raised his glass across the room, like, "Nice block." At dinner, I was seated 2 tables away from the main family cluster. I didn't mind. Better view of the exits. When the time came for toasts, a few people went up. Light jokes, soft tears. Then it was me. I kept it short. "Derek," I said, lifting my glass. "You've always been real. I hope this marriage gives you what our family never could. Grace, respect, and space to be yourself. You deserve that." Got a couple chuckles. A few eyes dropped to the floor. Mostly silence. I didn't wait for cake. After dessert, I stood up, nodded to Rick, and walked out. No goodbyes, no hugs, no one followed. That night, I got home, set my keys on the counter, pulled out a single crisp dollar bill, and dropped it in the jar. Week 21, still holding. By the time June rolled around, we'd wrapped 2 big projects under budget. Framing, finish work, full walkthroughs, solid jobs, tight crew. I started taking some of the younger guys under my wing, showing them tricks no one ever taught me. "How do you know all this?" one asked during lunch break. "Trial by fire," I said, and a whole lot of nobody helping. Felt good to give someone the kind of backing I never got. The heat settled in, thick by July. Long days, early starts. I'd come home sunburned, boots caked in dust, drop my keys in the same dish, and toss another dollar in the jar. Habit now, rhythm. Then, in August, I checked the mailbox and saw it. Real handwriting. Mom's, cream envelope, tight cursive, no return address. Inside was 1 page, no apology, no ownership, just, "We miss you. Your father's health isn't great. Think about coming home." I read it twice. Nothing about the last year, nothing about Christmas, just a quiet tug meant to reel me back in. I didn't write back. I sent a text. "I hope he's okay. I'm doing well here. I'm not ready to come back." No reply. 3 weeks later, Blake messaged me for the first time since the wedding. "You made your point. Can we move on?" I stared at the screen for a second, thumb hovering, then typed, "Not interested in pretending nothing happened." He left me on red. That same month, I met someone. Her name was Claire. Met her at the hardware store. I helped load a box of tile into her car. She offered to buy me a coffee as thanks. I said yes. It wasn't serious, but it was steady. She didn't care that I had no family photos. Didn't blink when I told her I hadn't been home in months. She liked that I could fix things without needing a manual. Said it made me feel solid. One night, we were cooking together. Nothing fancy, just pasta and garlic bread. When she pointed at the jar on the counter, "You saving up for something?" she asked. I shook my head, wiped my hands on a towel. "That's not savings." She tilted her head. "Then what is it?" I looked her straight in the eye. "That's weeks of peace." She didn't ask for more, just smiled, stirred the sauce, and moved on. Like she understood without needing the whole story. And that right there, felt like the cleanest breath I'd taken in years. Christmas morning hit quiet and cold. I sat on the porch of my own house, Boise, corner lot, 2-bedroom fixer-upper with good bones and ugly siding. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Bought it in September, spent weekends patching drywall and replacing trim. The front step still leaned a little, but the inside was solid. The jar sat on the kitchen shelf behind me, 52 bills stacked neat. One for every week I didn't cave, didn't call, didn't go back. Snow was falling soft. I cracked a beer using that damn hammer-shaped bottle opener. Things still worked, still ugly, still hung by the door like a scar I chose to keep. Rick and Jenna were coming over later. A couple guys from the crew, too. We were throwing together a potluck. Smoked ribs, cheap beer, no gifts. Just people who showed up because they wanted to, not because they were obligated. No Blake, no mom's silent treatment, no guilt-wrapped casseroles. Last week, a box showed up at my door. No return address, but I knew her handwriting. Inside was a single-framed photo of me at age 12. Buzz cut, flannel shirt, hammer in my hand, standing next to the birdhouse I'd built. No note, just the picture. I didn't cry, didn't toss it either. I put it on a shelf above my tool bench in the garage. Quiet place, felt right. The truck I drove, paid off. No cosigners, no strings. The walls I built around me, sturdy, straight, sealed tight. And me? I was still figuring it out. But for once I wasn't chasing anyone's approval. Not building my life around applause I'd never get. Just making choices that felt clean. I didn't hate my family. I just stopped letting them rewrite the truth. They had their story. I had mine. I took another sip of beer, watched the snow collect on the railing. The cold didn't bite as hard this year. Back inside, I grabbed a fresh dollar from the dish, folded it once, and dropped it into the jar. It hit the others with a soft thud. Year 2 begins now.